Oh boy, the Eagles, guys, they've been like a raisin cookie this year. Before the season, we get all hyped up. We thought we were getting chocolate chip, and then, we took a bite out of that cookie, and it tasted like ass. While the Eagles won't be getting into any ships this year, there is one team in Philadelphia that is, and I got to give a quick shout out to those Temple Owls. Jeremy and I, Temple Owl alums. So they are going to a ship this year. They're playing Houston Saturday at noon. Watch the game. It's the American Athletic title game. And if they win it, they're either going to the Fiesta or Peach Bowl. Remarkable season from the Owls. So we're going to start talking just some Temple football just for a minute because, well, that other team isn't deserving of our time right now. So we're going to take a 1 to 2 minute just let's start with those Owls. Jeremy, I know you're excited.
Oh, dude, it's been great. I was at the thrashing of the Yukon Huskies on Saturday night. That was just a dominant performance. So definitely very excited for the Owls. They at least keeping some football exciting in Philadelphia because, I fittingly wore my this is the Angry Bird. So the Angry Bird, all us Eagles fans are very angry with the Birds over the past few weeks. So it's nice to have Temple Owls play so well. We got a tough test in Houston this weekend. Playing on the road is going to be tough. We'll see what Matt Rule has for the Owls game plan. High-powered offense in Houston. Hopefully our defense can. Matakevich has been MVP caliber player this year on defense, so hopefully, we can contain them. And oh man, how great would it be to be in the Fiesta or Peach Bowl?
Oh yeah, outstanding. Mike, let's get to you real quick. What are your thoughts? I know you're a Notre Dame fan, but you're still from Philly, and you gotta love it.
Oh yeah, I mean, with the Eagles playing so bad, at least Temple football gives us some real football to take a look at. So it's nice to see Temple doing so well here. And I saw on the news the other night that it seems like more kids now want to actually join the Temple football program. So, it's good for the school. I mean, for so long, they were just a horrible team, but they really turned things around and trying to build their own stadium now. So it's really good for the city.
Yeah, and just some really quickly, guys, to keep an eye on, since if you guys don't watch Temple regularly on a regular basis, keep your eye on Jahan Thomas. This guy makes it wiggle. He makes moves out in the open field. PJ Walker is coming really into his own as a quarterback. He's outstanding. Has a big arm. And defensive side of the ball, he talked about Tyler Matakevich. He's got 100 tackles in each year. He's been at Temple. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And Tavon Young, a cornerback, oh boy, he's pretty good too. He's a feisty little guy. And Matt Ioannidis along the defensive line, they got some real playmakers on D, and it's going to be real fun to watch this game. So, just give a quick shout out to Temple. Respect the T. Love it now.
There's the Owl, buddy.
We're the best team in Philadelphia. So, let's get to the Eagles now. And I got a fun little stat for you guys before we get into Chip Kelly. Since Donovan McNabb's departure from the Eagles, they are 46-45 as a franchise. The definition of mediocrity.
Yeah, that right there just shows you why you need a franchise quarterback in this league. And it's a shame that the Eagles are playing so badly this year, because last year was the year that they maybe should have sucked and they would have maybe had a shot to get Mariota. But now we've really put ourselves in a tough situation after this year at the quarterback position. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it really just shows, you really need that franchise quarterback. And it seems like as the days go along here, it seems harder and harder to find that franchise quarterback in this league anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that is a glaring stat. You're very mediocre without a franchise guy, and it's, we've gone through our Cobbs, our Vicks, our Foles, our Sanchez's, our Bradfords. It's just not working out. All these stopgaps, you can't. you can't build a franchise without that guy. So, what I say, if Chip wants that guy, see what he can do in Tennessee. Give us some first round picks, and let Chip have his guy, and let's start fresh with a new regime and culture, and maybe we can. Who's out there? Paxton Lynch looks good, but then Temple Owls, shut him down. So this isn't really a great QB draft class. So how far is our franchise set back without a franchise quarterback? It's you just got to see how it plays out.
Yeah. So, you talked about the quarterback class, and that brings an interesting discussion. Let's just go roundtable really quickly before we get to Chip, because you need a franchise quarterback to win the NFL, no doubt about it. But the problem is like Jeremy kind of referenced, it's a bad year for the class, and they kind of picked the wrong year to be bad. Because you even look at next year, you're going to have the Watson kid from Clemson. You're going to have Luke Falk from Washington State is another great quarterback. And this year, people are hyping up Paxton Lynch, and I'm just like, I saw him play against Temple. I didn't see anything great or anything. We'll see. It's just like a bad year to be bad, because you're kind of stuck in this situation with Bradford, and what are you going to do? So let's throw the round table. Who's going to be our starting quarterback? Just give us some guys you think who could be our quarterback for next year.
Well, sitting here right now, this depends how Bradford comes back from his injury and how he finishes out the year. But if I had to take a guess right now, I'm going to say that they're probably going to keep Bradford at this point. I don't know if that's a popular, option here in Philadelphia, but I think that's really what they're going to have to do until they can maybe they draft a guy in the later rounds this year and try to develop him. But for right now, I think that you're probably looking at least one more year of Bradford. If I could do the deal with Bradford this offseason, I would only give him a 2-year deal. Well, he's not going to take a 1-year deal. He's going to want a multi-year deal. So I would try to get him for 2 years, and then got to try to develop a guy.
Between two guys, one is Sam Bradford. I agree with Mike. Might be another stopgap. And if Chip Kelly's still here, Adrian's not going to like this, but I think a fellow by the name of Colin Kaepernick might be able to turn his career around and be the guy he was back a few years ago in the Super Bowl, and maybe Chip Kelly can use his mobility and read option and actually have a dynamic offensive again, and bring in another receiver. Maybe Aguilar gets better, his second year. Maybe he can be healthy. We still have Matthews in the slot. So, who knows? Maybe Chip can help rejuvenate Kaepernick. I know Adrian hates him, but, who knows what Chip can do with a quarterback like that? You saw what he could do with Michael Vick in the games that Vick was our quarterback. So we were a prolific offense, and we also had more weapons like McCoy, Deshaun, and Macklin. But so we'll see. Those are my two guys.
Yeah, I'll say this though. Like, if he was the backup, I wouldn't mind that. But I don't think I don't know if you can get both of them. Like, if you can keep, I think it's either Bradford and, like a rookie or something. I don't know if you can afford both guys, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's why it's going to have to be Bradford, because the price is, probably going to be right. And I'm not really a big fan of Kaepernick. I just don't think that he has the accuracy for this offense. Obviously, he's got the mobility, but what Chip really needs in this offense is he needs a mobile quarterback, but he also needs an accurate quarterback. And, we've seen what Mark Sanchez can do in this offense, and, well, that's throw a ton of interceptions, and it hasn't worked out too well.
Yeah, if Bradford can, play all 16 games, which is always a question, maybe he will have a better year. I think he's just always going to be that quarterback that's going to get injured or just kind of be mediocre. I mean, Bradford's never been dynamic. His best year was he was Rookie of the Year, and his numbers weren't that glaring. So I don't think I'm not too confident with our quarterback options for next year. I'm really not.
Yeah, well, the thing about Bradford, I think his ceiling is like what you're seeing from Carson Palmer, and he can, I don't think he's ever going to be top 10 quarterback in the league, but I think maybe he could sneak into the top 15 or something. He has been very good the last few games before he got hurt, and according to Pro Football Focus, he was the second most accurate quarterback in the league the last 4 weeks that he played. So he has been making strides. It's just like, how patient are you willing to be with him? And that's why I would give him another year. He'll probably get, if you can get him for like two years, he might want 3 years. You might have to keep him for 3 years. But if you can get him back, and what I would do personally, I wouldn't touch Paxton Lynch or Jared Goff. I wouldn't touch any of those guys. But I would touch a guy named Trayvon Boykin, and I'd see what you can do with him. And he's going to be like a middle to late round guy. And what I would do in the first round, I would take an offensive lineman, like a guy like Ronnie Stanley or something, and solidify the line. And then maybe like the year after, if you want to draft another quarterback, go ahead. Like if it were up to me, I would cut Mark Sanchez and like draft 2 guys and hope one pans out. That I don't know. I'm trying to be creative. Like maybe you can get Boykin and another guy, and cut Sanchez, and just like you got to just keep bringing guys in and trying to find a franchise changer, because that's what the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson, and they finally found one. So that's that. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I really like those options. I'm definitely a fan with you here with Boykin from TCU. I think that he could be a guy that they should maybe try to look at in the later rounds. He would be a guy that they could develop, keep on the bench for a year or two, and then maybe he's a guy eventually. I also definitely agree with your point about maybe getting rid of Mark Sanchez and drafting 2 quarterbacks, because I think we're at the point where, Sanchez is just not getting it done as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Adrian about the offensive line, because with Chip hasn't addressed an offensive line since his very first pick in Lane Johnson, and that was like a no-brainer. You have an injury, you have a fragile quarterback, you need to protect them. That's first and foremost. I always say games are won in the trenches. Blah blah blah. But the game that Bradford got hurt, he was seeing more pressure than any game this season. Up until that game, he actually weathered the storm a little bit, and took some hits, but got right back up. He actually didn't look too bad as far as his fragileness. But that game again, that game 3 weeks ago was just, he got knocked out against the Dolphins, and that the protection was the worst all year. So offensive line definitely addressed that first and foremost. And yeah, you mentioned what Seattle did with Russell Wilson. I believe he was a 3rd-round pick. And they brought in Matt Flynn that year and gave him like $8 to $10 million. And Russell Wilson just was Russell Wilson, and diamond in the rough there. Boykin, might be a great guy to develop in one of those middle rounds. So absolutely, I say shore up the offensive line. Hell, take an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds. Actually, we don't have a 2nd-round pick this year, do we?
No.
thanks to Bradford.
They almost have like a high 2nd-round pick, because they do have the Lions pick in the 3rd round. So if you want to look at it, maybe they have because it's basically like a late 2nd-round pick. What's going to amount to?
Yeah, because we traded out of the 4th round to get a 3rd-round pick in this past draft. Yeah, from the Lions. So there you go. That's how I feel.
Trayvon Boykin to Philly. Let's do it. Because basically, to summarize it in like 20 seconds, I don't think Paxton Lynch. He has the capability of being a top 10 guy. I think he's like a 15 to 20 rank guy. So I'm not big on Jared Goff either. I'm just not big on any of these guys. So that's why I would just try and shore up the offensive line first. And you got Bradford anyway. Bradford's better than whoever's come out in the first round this year. That's kind of like what I think. So, but you can, Trayvon Boykin's a guy you can develop. So, and then you can even next year you can, maybe find another guy. Who knows? But yeah, let's get into Chip Kelly now, because I wanted to bring up some of the coaches that we talked about bringing in here when we did bring in Chip, and let me just run down the names. We got Gus Bradley. Ken Wisenhunt, you got Bill O'Brien, you got Brian Billick, Mike McCoy, and Bruce Arians. So, out of those guys, just round table real quick, any of those head coaches you would take over Chip right now?
Yeah, well, I think that we're all going to agree here that Bruce Arians would be the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Big time offensive mind and former Temple out.
Yeah.
What's not to love?
Yeah, any guy from Temple, of course, is going to kill it in the NFL. Terrence Knighton.
That's right.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
About what's that, Bruce Arians?
Are there any other head coaches that you think would, you would take over Chip?
I mean, right now, I just gotta, ride the ship out. We'll see what happens.
No, I mean, like, out of those coaches I listed. Because, the only guy I would take over him is Bruce Arians.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. Arians was the guy that I would take.
And then nobody else.
Yeah, no one else, no.
Okay.
I did like Mike McCoy a little bit because he did a really good job. I think he was the offensive coordinator of the Broncos. But I mean, I think he had about a 500 record as a head coach. So obviously it's not great, but that was one guy that besides Bruce Arians, obviously number one. But I kind of thought about Mike McCoy for a little bit back then.
Yeah. Yeah. So out of those guys, the records. I mean, Bruce Arians right now is 30-13, which is just absolutely outstanding. He's unbelievable. But the second best record there is Chip Kelly, 24-19. There is another guy on the list there that I think is a pretty good coach, Bill O'Brien. He's 15-12 with the Texans. He stayed at Penn State, and then he became a head coach a year later. So, and he's 15-12 without a franchise quarterback too. So that's pretty remarkable what he's doing in Houston. But I would still take Chip over him because I'm just I guess I'm one of those guys, a Chip bot as they like to say on Twitter. So,
and Bill O'Brien's actually got the Texans playing real well right now. A three-game winning streak and tied for first in their division. Their division was one of the worst in football, but now it is solely owned by by the NFC East as the worst division in football. I believe it's an 11-27 record between all the teams. So it's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's really bad here in the NFC East. So, hey, it's something that we can be thankful for. That I don't even know how that it's possible that the Eagles are even alive or breathing at this point, but somehow we're only a game out.
Yeah, insane.
The record was 17-27, and our division add all up wins and losses 17-27.
It's despicable. No one deserves to be in the playoffs in this division, but wow. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a Christmas miracle for the Eagles to get back in it, but yeah, we'll see. So, yeah, getting back to, what we wanted to talk about today. Because it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't always been sunny in Philadelphia with Chip Kelly. And we'll get into it now. What do we hate about Chip Kelly? We'll start with that.
Well, I think that Jeremy's a good one to start here with what we hate about Chip Kelly.
Well, when you have a veteran like Jason Peters saying, not really backing his coach, saying, "Oh, I don't care who would be the coach. It could be Chip Kelly, it could be Andy Reid, it could be whoever. I play for the owner. I'm an Eagle." He didn't back his coach at all. You got Malcolm Jenkins, another veteran leader on our defense, going talking trash on the way the coaching staff conducts their practice and everything. And these are just things that, yeah, we're in a losing streak. These are things that happen when you lose. Chip's never faced adversity, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't see him changing anything. He has yet to show me that he can, turn this Chip ship around. And, it's kind of, I just don't want to ruin next year. I'm already kind of saying that this year is pretty much, we're not going to make the playoffs. And I just don't want another year of mediocrity because I don't trust him. If I can get a first round pick or more from Tennessee, for him to go to Tennessee, sign me up, like right now. I'm just tired of his snarkiness and him just being so stubborn, and he has been very humbled actually recently. It's been interesting to see him in his press conferences. So that's kind of if you want to see any change, he's now more humble.
I love that, by the way.
Well, I guess that's we'll see what he does this weekend in New England.
Yeah. Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, with Chip Kelly, his press conference is seemed to get on people's nerves these days. When the Eagles are winning, everything is fine and it's funny, but when they're losing, it's not as funny. So that's definitely something that the fans in Philadelphia aren't too happy here with Chip Kelly. So yeah. I'm kind of, I'm still on this ship, and I'm gonna ride it until, next season. Hopefully he's here next year, and hopefully he can get things back on track. So I'm gonna keep riding the ship.
You know what the thing is about this town? It's the media. They love to just pound on Chip and Chip. Mike, we know. I mean, we're writers. Like we understand all this, and I think some of this is Chip is such an asshole. He's an asshole in the media. He just thinks he's above everyone else, and this has led to, like, you've had a lot of stories that are really bashing this guy. So the popular media despises him, and that it might kind of basically what's happening is like the media and Philly's just like savoring up every word of it. And that's the thing, like, we got to take into account too. Like, what if it's not as bad as we think it is?
Yeah, well, let's hope it's not as bad as they portray it. I mean, a lot of these things that get reported, you don't know what's true and what's not true. So it's hard to tell. I mean, we're not in that locker room. So we can't say what's really going on. I mean, only the guys in that locker room can really tell you what's going on. So, well, yeah, we'll see what happens here.
He's such a big guy he's such big on culture and all that. And I think we can see, we can get a feel as fans for what is going on in the locker room these past couple weeks, and how we just come out and look like we flop around like a dead fish and show no fight at all. This team he's yet to establish an identity with this team. They just don't look. They look outmatched. He looks outcoached. He doesn't plan. He hasn't had good game plans against opposing defenses like weaknesses. He's been playing right into their strengths the past couple of weeks, and obviously we give up 90 points to the Lions and the Bucks. Like, that's a joke. Yeah, a lot of that is on Billy Davis and the defense, but Chip played a big part in that as well. And the whole GM with Chip and evaluating talent, who he brought in all these guys with injury histories, and we saw how Kiko hasn't looked good, and Bradford got hurt, and his first year in full control has just been a complete failure. I think Jeffrey Lurie gave him the reins too quick. I mean, obviously I hope he turns it around as an Eagles fan, but he just gives me no confidence that he can do it at this level. At least maybe he can do it with Marcus Mariota. Who knows, in a different situation. But right now, I think that he's in a downward spiral that he and he's dug himself in too deep of a hole that he won't be able to quite climb out of. And like Mike said, we just got to ride this rest of the season out, and let whatever happens, man.
Yeah. Since this thing was talking about why we hate Chip Kelly in the first place, I will get into what my thoughts about it, because I am one of those what they call a Chip bot. I am a Chip guy. I like Chip. I think he's a good head. He can become a good head coach in this league. What we're seeing right now is, I think, the inexperience of him being in the NFL in general. I mean, he's never been in the NFL before he became a head coach. So he's learning the ropes. He's learning the hard way, and I think in a lot of ways this is good. This is the best thing that's ever happened to him, because I think he learns from this. Even because with confidence comes stubbornness, and that's what we saw with Chip Kelly before he came into the NFL. He's been successful everywhere he's gone. 46-7 at Oregon. He comes into the NFL. His offense, you see the fingerprints of his up-tempo style throughout the league. So he's like he's like the originator of the up-tempo, at least the modern-day up-tempo offense, and a lot of other teams are doing it now, and he just had this confidence and this smugness about him coming in, because he just thought he knew more than everyone else, because everywhere he's ever gone, he's won. And this is the first time he's not winning. And you saw him. He's been humbled the last couple weeks, and you can only hope that he changes from this, because this was the problem with Bill Belichick when he was in Cleveland. He first five of his first 6 years as he was a head coach, he didn't win a playoff game. Before Tom Brady came to town, he didn't win anything. So I'm not comparing the two head coaches, but I'm just comparing the circumstances that they went through, because Bill Belichick, he was aloof. He was a prick to the media. It took him a while to kind of get used to, being that personable head coach. Obviously, winning helps, but that's what Chip needs to change. And I have seen at least some changes in some of the things he's doing, because he has been so controlling. You have how they do the sleep monitor stuff. This year is the first year where he didn't have his players. It was like an option of whether or not they wanted to do it or not. I think part of this problem is this isn't college. This is the pros, and they don't want to be treated like children. And he's got to learn how to take his foot off the controlling pedal. And I think with time, I think he can kind of figure some of this stuff out. And that's why I think there's potential moving forward. And now we're going to start talking about him as a coach and what we're seeing from him on the field. So let's go round table. What mistakes are you seeing out there as him as a coach?
Yeah, well, I think what's happened with Chip here is Chip the GM has kind of hurt Chip the coach. And I say that because I think coming into the season, I think Chip Kelly kind of really shorthanded himself on the offensive side of the football. Especially along the offensive line, that's really been a major problem for him this season. And I think, with Chip Kelly, his whole coaching style really relies on that offensive line, because he relies on the running game. And with the offensive line, I mean, I don't think that he was expecting, his best players on the offensive line to really have bad years. Jason Kelsey's having the worst year of his career. And then, with Jason Peters at left tackle, he's been getting injured every game, so he's starting to break down. And I don't know if Chip Kelly really expected those things, and he got rid of, he let a guy like Evan Mathis walk away from the team. And, maybe that was a mistake looking back on it, but, I mean, Mathis hasn't done much with the Broncos, but still, it would be, for depth purposes. So I think, and then you look at the wide receiver position, Josh Huff is a guy that we talked about coming into the year maybe being a wild card at the wide receiver spot, and he's really done nothing. They bring in a guy like Miles Austin, a veteran. He's done nothing. He's been horrible. At wide receiver, you really have Matthews, Jordan Matthews, and he struggled early on too with the drop. So he's really shot himself on the foot, I feel like, on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I actually think that he did a good job bringing in, some of these players, and the defense was performing really well up until the last 3 games here, especially with the draft pick of Jordan Hicks. I feel like he really hit on Jordan Hicks, and he's going to be a stud for a long time here at the linebacker spot. So I feel like as far as his coaching goes, he's good at adjustments, but the one thing that I would suggest with Chip is that he needs to learn that at some points in the game, he needs to turn down the tempo, maybe even go into a huddle at some points, because getting these 3 and outs just kills the offense.
Yeah, Mike brought up a lot of good points. I'll kind of expand on one with as far as Chip the GM is hurting himself on the offensive side of the ball, such as the Josh Huff pick. The likes of Martavius Bryant and John Brown were picked after Huff. Big time talents, can stretch the field, whereas Josh Huff has shown nothing. I don't like Chip's game plan and the predictability of his offense, the limited amount of plays that he uses and repeats them. These defensive coordinators in the NFL are professionals, and they know, they figure out Chip rather easily, and then that's just kind of what you can't do, because you can't have a successful offense if the other team knows what the plays you're calling. So I would say, predictability, maybe expand your play calling a little bit, not be so stuck on some of the same play calls on first and second down that puts you at third and long. We're one of the worst teams in the league in converting third downs. So, a lot of it is, goes back to Chip the GM. I agree with Mike, the offensive line and the receiver situation. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think this all goes back to the confidence brings stubbornness thing that I said before, because he thought his scheme was so great and so good that it didn't need that much talent. So he, Jeremy Maclin, they let him walk. I mean, he was getting a lot of money, but this comes down to thinking you were good enough with Miles Austin, Nelson Aguilar, Josh Huff, and Jordan Matthews, and it just hasn't worked. You need more talent on the offensive side of the ball. But I think the biggest thing for me is him not addressing the offensive line, because I think that's been the biggest thing this year, the biggest problem on this team. And let me just get some stats for you guys real quick that I have, if I can find it. LaShawn McCoy last year. Remember when we thought, well, a lot of people in Philadelphia thought he lost a step because he wasn't putting up big numbers. If from weeks 2 to 8, they were without Jason Kelsey and Evan Mathis. LaShawn McCoy averaged 3.97 yards per carry. Not very good considering what we know he can be. And this year, DeMarco Murray is averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Even Ryan Matthews, first 2 games and the Miami game, the 3 games that our offensive line played terribly. Ryan Matthews, his first 2 games, averaged 1 yard per carry, and against Miami, he averaged 2.25. So that, to me, is telling me our offensive line isn't getting the job done. And if your offensive line, if you can run block, that sets up play action. But so DeMarco Murray is only averaging 3.5 yards per carry. They need to solidify the interior of that offensive line, because if you look at what's going on this year, DeMarco Murray, his yards per carry outside of the tackles is higher than it is between the tackles. He's running for more yards per carry out of shotgun than he is from under center, and it's not supposed to be like that. And the reason why he's not getting those yards inside is because you have no guards, and Jason Kelsey has been an abomination this year. So they need to solidify the line, and that's what's hurt the most, because he's the only coach in the NFL in the last 2 years who hasn't drafted a lineman. That is just unacceptable. and you get rid of Evan Mathis. You know Jason Peters is 33 years old, and not doing any of that. I think that's the biggest problem, even more so than the Bradford trade, than the Kiko Alonso trade, than letting Deshaun Jackson go, letting Jeremy Maclin go. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. I think that's really what this boils down to because you know what, an offensive line, people don't talk about the offensive line because you know they don't like to talk about these you know the big guys because it's never a sexy draft pick or anything. But you know, look what the Cowboys did drafting all these offensive linemen in the first round, and well, they built like one hell of an offensive line that almost anybody can run behind. And, you know, you look here in Philadelphia, and, well, Chip Kelly kind of neglected to address the offensive line. And by neglecting to address the offensive line for 2 years now, it's really, you know, went to shit. And they're getting older. I mean, Jason Peters, I mean, we were just hoping that he could, you know, maybe have 1 or 2 more good years left, but he's starting to break down. And with him breaking down, then then you're talking about depth because when Jason Peters gets hurt, all right, then you got to swing Lane Johnson over the left tackle. That's fine, but now when you're putting a guy like Dennis Kelly at right tackle, that's where you really fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, offensive line is huge. You know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You know, the games are won in the trenches. The more push you get up front, especially with Chip Kelly's offense, it's so predicated on getting the running game going, which will open up, you know, all different parts of your offense, like the passing game as well, play action and such. You know, you got to win the battle up front, and for Chip to, you know, this shows his lack of NFL experience, to be so naive to think that you got, I'll be fine with the likes of Matt Tobin, Andrew Garner, Alan Barbary, career backups in the inner part of your line. And, you know, Kelsey had such a good rapport with Hermans and Mathis that had a huge reason. I mean, I think the proof's in the pudding and how bad Jason Kelsey's been this year and the lack of talent he has on his left and right side. So, obviously, offensive line has to get addressed. That's the number one thing, and obviously it'll help keep Bradford upright or whoever our quarterback's going to be. So, totally agree. Offensive line is huge, and Chip has to get on that, no doubt.
Yep, absolutely. So, you know, that's one thing. I have noticed he has changed some of his tendencies to start out the games because that was a big problem earlier on in the year. They didn't score any points in the first quarter. And, you know, the funny thing is if there is one thing the Eagles have changed the last couple games, they've gotten off the better starts. But it hasn't mattered. But I do have some stuff here. So the first 8 games they played, we all know how Chip loves the swing pass. Well, they've done it 8 times in the first play of the game of each half. And it's amounted to 2.14 yards per carry or yards per play, which is nothing. The second down play, 50% of the time they were running the inside zone. So clearly, you can see the tendency there of what Chip liked to do. But over the last 3 games, they've only run the swing pass once, and the times that they've run the inside zone on second down, it's been 2nd and 5 or less, because they're getting more yards on first down on the first play, because you're seeing hitches, you're seeing quick slants, you're seeing stop routes. I think Aguilar got a smoke screen on Thursday on the first play, so you're seeing some switching up from Chip. So that at least has worked, and that's the only thing you could say, because everything else has been terrible. Because Chip or Jeremy has said this before with defenses. Figuring them out a little bit. I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of talent, but there is some truth to that because he hasn't switched up his tendencies yet. He's got to learn how to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic because, early on in the season, we just absolutely blew in the first quarter or the second quarter, but then we would pick it up in the second half. And, we were complaining about that. And now we're at the point where we would rather them play like that than to only play really the first quarter and take off the rest of the game. So um, I don't know if it's going to happen this season, but starting next season, maybe it would be a good idea for Chip Kelly to realize that when they make a game plan, that they have to intend to play 4 quarters.
Yeah, Mike, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. Literally, we haven't played a full 4 quarters the entire year, and that shows with a 4-7 record. I don't care whether you start off hot or end hot. It doesn't matter. You have to put together a full game plan. It's Chip's 3rd year in the league. He should. I know he's a smart guy. He's not an idiot. But there comes a point where you got to start, adjusting at every aspect. Not just at halftime or not just during the week. You have to be able to adjust anytime. And now would be the best time in the middle of this losing streak and how bad we have looked. He's never faced quite adversity quite like this. So, Chip wants to prove himself in the NFL. Let's see what you got against arguably the best team in football.
Yeah. I will say one of the things I also don't like about him, he gives up on the running game too quickly sometimes. And I got a stat here. Eagles.
Of course you have a stat.
Of course I do, because I did some research before the show. They are 12-2 during Chip's tenure when they run the ball more than they pass. They're 11-18 when they don't. So, and that's the one thing I've seen from Chip over the last couple of years. Whenever his team gets down quickly, he'll resort to the pass really quick. He's kind of impatient sometimes with that, and it's surprising because at Oregon he ran the ball a lot, and it really hasn't translated to the NFL as much. But 12-2 when they run the ball more than they throw it, and that they had a really even ratio when they won 4 of 6. And the last 3, I mean, obviously they've gotten the really, really slow starts, and they had to pass a lot in the second half. But when we won 4 of 6, we were 50-50 ratio, and obviously everything else during the year we haven't been.
Yeah, well, what happens is, they've been getting down in these games. They get away from the run, like you're saying, and then what else is happening is, it's been plaguing us all year, but just the drop passes and the penalties, just really the self-inflicted wounds have really hurt the offense the entire year. And, for any offense, that's going to slow it down. But especially with this offense, it really hurts them because they play such a fast tempo that, I mean, sometimes they're running, having a drive that lasts 40 seconds. And, that's just insane. So, yeah, that's something that they definitely got to work on going forward heading into next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier for any team to win when they run the ball. You look at any team that say rushes for between 150 and 200 total rushing yards in the game. I'm willing to bet they won that game, no matter what the team is. And that starts with obviously the offensive line and game planning and there's a lot of things. The flow of the game, when we're losing or winning, that has to do with how you distribute the run-pass ratio. So. Yeah, obviously running the ball is really important, and it helps open up the passing game. So, just hopefully we can run the ball and not get away from it like Chip has been, and get healthier, get Ryan Matthews in there again too, hopefully, and we'll see what DeMarco can do.
Yeah. There is another point I wanted to make about Chip. I think because of how his scheme kind of not that it dominated the NFL, but it really took the NFL by storm in this first season. And I think what happened with that, because he was so successful, it kind of delayed his learning curve of learning how to adjust back, because this is the first time where they've really figured his scheme out. And I don't think the scheme is the problem per se. I think guys are getting open. You just need more talent around them. And I think the predictability of a play caller, I think that's a little bit overblown too, because every team is predictable in a way. Every team has tendencies in certain downs, certain situations. There is a level of predictability, that has to be expected when, you look at an NFL team. So I've seen Aguilar on tape get open the last few weeks, and they're just not getting him the ball. But I just wanted to make that point real quick.
Yeah, no, I never really thought about that, but that's really a great point that you made there, and it's definitely something to consider because I mean you're right. Chip kind of came into the league, and the way he was running his offense so fast. I mean, I still remember the first game in Washington. And everyone was just amazed at how fast it was and how well the offense worked. So Chip Kelly, he got that confidence and he thought that, he was going to be unstoppable. But now he's really running into some problems, what you talked about before, where he thought that his scheme could just outrun anyone. But right now he doesn't have the talent.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so funny. I remember that first game and his first ever interview. We're going into the tunnel at halftime. They're like, "Oh, you ran like 50 plays or more than 50 plays just in the first half." He's like, yeah, we could have ran more. So we'll adjust and see what we can do." So that was exciting, But we had a lot of talent and we had a great offensive line and. I mean, stretching the field with Deshaun, and McCoy was just wiggling all over the place, setting records over like 1,600 rushing yards. I mean, and so many touchdowns, almost 20 touchdowns. Like it was ridiculous. So obviously he's run into some roadblocks, and this is just going to show how good of an NFL coach he actually is if he can adjust and continue to. Take this franchise and turn it around. But right now he's not showing me much confidence that he can do that or that he can handle an NFL locker room. And I think, you hear all these reports and you don't know what to believe. But, basically you're hearing that players are against Chip. They're tired of his shit not working and whatever. And, the frustration comes when you lose all these games. But, lack of talent definitely has something to do with it. And, just what can I say? Hopefully, Chip shows that he is a good NFL coach, and maybe we can string together some wins here. And, we are only a game out, but I just don't see it with this team getting more than 1 or 2 wins the rest of the way.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. Just to finish up on this point, because when he did come into the NFL, there were less teams running the up-tempo than there are now. You're seeing a lot more teams do it. So defensive coaches are getting used to it now, and players are getting used to it now, and they weren't really used to it when Chip was here in his first year. So it's delayed the learning curve because it's finally now for the first time that he's really been hit hard, and we got to see how he responds to it. I think he's shown enough success that he should be given a chance, and that's kind of how I feel about that. And the way to adjust back is to figure out how you can switch up the up tempo, and maybe you do it on some drives, maybe you don't, maybe you got to switch it up. So maybe that's how we adjust next year, because you can't play fast all the time. I don't think anymore.
Yeah, they have to have the talent if they want to play fast tempo all the time. They have to have the talent to be able to do it, and that's where they've kind of, it's not worked out this year, and the offense has struggled because they don't have the talent. And we're not just talking about like two or three 3-and-outs during a game. I mean, this is happening way too often during a game, and when you have this happening like 5 times during a game or 4 times, that's when you really get into trouble.
What was so annoying with the Dolphins loss was a 20-19 loss, and he's like, oh, well, we ran 88 plays. Okay, he talks about running, as many plays as you can. Well, no, you run 88 plays and only score 19 points against the Dolphins? Like, no, dude. And it's not just how many plays you call and getting as many plays as you can. that's not it. You know, it's you got to control the game, and that'll help you ultimately, you know, win the game. I think, you know, have a more balanced time of possession. Your defense is on the field for less snaps. You can blame Billy Davis as much as you want, but I mean, it's a fact that the defense is on the field, I believe, more than any other team in the league. So, you know, does that catch up with these guys down the stretch? You know, they faltered last year, the defense did. I don't know. These are professional athletes. They should be conditioned enough to handle it, but it is a bigger workload than any other defense. And, you know, maybe they are getting a little more tired. But, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. And just another, quick point. Well, actually, we'll get to that now. We'll give our, what we think is going to happen in Foxborough real quick. All right. So thoughts on Foxborough, and then, I guess I don't know. I don't think we can project how many games this team's going to win. I don't think that's fair because, I don't think we have any idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, as far as projecting wins the rest of the way, yeah, that's really tough to tell.
I have no idea.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Eagles are actually in kind of a weird spot because, we always want to cheer for the Eagles to win, but I mean, it's almost at the point where it's like if they're gonna play like they have been, they might as well just lose out and get a better draft pick because they don't want to get in a situation where they play this tightrope game and they actually have a chance to win the NFC East, and then they lose the final game to the Giants and they lose out, and then you're just in a really shitty situation. So, but that's my thoughts there. But as far as the Patriots go, yeah, well, I mean, we know it's not going to be pretty. The Patriots are pissed off. I mean, Tom Brady never loses back-to-back games, so he's not going to be happy. It doesn't matter who the hell Tom Brady is throwing the ball to out there. They're gonna catch it because Tom Brady's gonna put it right on the number. So yeah, this one I'm saying that the Eagles are probably gonna get blown out pretty good in this one. But let's just hope that it's somewhat reasonable. I'm gonna say that the Eagles ended up losing this one 40-20.
As far as predicting the rest of the year, yeah, it's impossible to do. But this is the Philadelphia Eagles we're talking about, so you know what they're going to do, right? We're going to be in the hunt. We're going to play for the division somehow with 6 or 7 wins. That last game of the year against the Giants, they're going to tease us. They're going to get us there. We're going to be right there, and then we'll lose, and we will not, and we won't have as good a draft pick as we could have if we lose out from this point on. So that's my prediction on the rest of the year. So maybe we finish 6-10 or something, and the Giants win at 7-9. And then, as far as the Patriots game, I totally agree with Mike. It doesn't matter. Gronk's out, Edelman's out. Doesn't matter. They'll bring a guy off the practice squad and he'll go for 3 touchdowns against Derrick Rowe. It just doesn't matter because Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, and the combo of Tom and Bill have not lost back-to-back games, I believe, over 2 years or something ridiculous. So I don't see that happening the way, with the way the Eagles have been playing. I see something along the lines of Mike's score. I'm going to go 38-14 Patriots.
I got 34-20. I think we at least show a little bit of fight. That's all you can hope for is they show the fight. Show more fight than they've shown the last 2 weeks. That's what you can hope for moving forward. Just that. I think your best case scenario is Eagles are 6-9, Giants are 7-8, last game of the year, and you just hope that they can win. It goes 7-9 and win the division. Then maybe, who knows? Maybe you win a playoff game because if you're at home, we saw Seattle win a playoff game at 7-9, and we saw last year Carolina won a playoff game at 7-8. So that's your best case scenario of what the season can be. So that just saying that, and 34-20, I think we do show a little bit of fight. And, I mean, not that 14 points would still cover the spread, but, I think 34-20 is a realistic possibility. There's some people on Twitter that are trying to get their hopes up thinking we're going to pull off some Christmas miracle. Unless the Pope comes back to Philly, it ain't happening.
Yeah, it would. It would be beyond a miracle at this point. We got lucky enough that Gronk ended up getting hurt for the Pats because, geez, if Gronk was playing in this game,
45-20. Yeah.
So we it saved us, at 10 points, maybe even 14 points with Gronk getting injured. So it won't be that embarrassing. But yeah. And then it's going to be Billy Davis going against Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. So that's not promising at all.
Yeah, Billy sucks against elite quarterbacks.
And we have Eric Rowe, a rookie, starting. So, Tom Brady is just licking his chops to throw on that side of the field, whoever he's covering. And, if Amendola comes back, who is solid, you'll have the likes of E.J. Biggers or like Chris Maragos covering him. So, or Ed Reynolds now that Couplins went to the injury reserve. So, it's gonna be a messy show, but we're gonna sit there and we're gonna watch it because we are diehard Eagles fans, and we'll sit through it. And who knows? Do you believe in Christmas miracles? We'll talk to the little boy and the Santa Claus with Tim Allen and Miracle on 34th Street. These things happen.
Well, the Eagles are undefeated when I go to Jeremy Burton's house. So it looks like I will be making an appearance on Sunday.
There you go.
So, that's all we can hope. Hopefully it doesn't reverse the trend. Yeah. It's funny now, looking at this, because a lot of Eagles fans were cheering Tony Romo going down. The Redskins have 2 games against the Cowboys. The Redskins might sneak in and win this thing.
Yep.
They get to play Dallas twice without Romo.
Yep.
So they could go 8-8 and just all the 6-9, like the divisional showdown. It ain't gonna happen because the Redskins will be 8-8. Outright. Because they play the Cowboys last game of the year.
They've been playing well. They've been playing well.
They're going to steal this division.
I said that to you a couple weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, and you thought I was crazy. And I said it not being truthful either. I didn't believe it.
Like a month ago. Like yeah. I didn't expect like 8-8 to win this thing, but it is. Like I thought at least some team would go 9-7. It's not going to happen.
No. Well, what I was really shocked by is that the Giants, this past weekend, they really had a chance to just really wrap this division up. If they could have beaten the Redskins, they would have been well on their way to a division title. But they just didn't even show up. They showed up, in the fourth quarter, but it was too late. And the Redskins won the game, and geez, and then the shitty NFCs continues.
Yep.
Yeah, worst record in worst division record in football. Worst division in football. So it's only fitting that someone's going to win it with 6 or 7. Watch it be a 6-10.
Oh my
watch
5-11 versus 5-10 versus what? 6-9.
6-9 for the win. No, I think 7 or possibly 8 wins is going to win it. 7 or 8.
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah. Jesus Christ. All right. We're almost an hour into the show, so there are actually things that I had on the agenda we haven't even talked about yet. So clearly, I wrote too much down. But let's get into final thoughts time because we will end the show now. Really quickly, what do you guys have to say before we go?
Yeah, well, I saw something funny today about Byron Maxwell. Something about how he just smiles all the time, no matter what the situation is. So it just confirms that Byron Maxwell is really an alien on drugs. He's not even on this planet. The guy, he's just a weird guy. He's probably a guy that smiles when he gets injured, or he would smile if he was about to lose his life. Just a really strange character.
Well, he definitely loves getting high, and he is high on life. He's the $63 million man that we brought in. So, final thoughts. The Sixers got another Philadelphia news. The Sixers got their first win and suspended their best player for 2 games because he likes to get in little scuffles in Boston and punch smaller guys in the face. So, attaboy Big Ja. And I'm just going to shout out again to my Temple Owls, and everyone tune in at noon on Saturday and watch us fight for that big bowl game on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
Well, the thing about the Sixers is they played Denver at home in 2 nights, and God forbid they win that game. So that's why Big Ja is suspended. They don't want him to play. It's all part of the plan. Trust the process. So that's what's going on there. My final thought, there's a sneaky under-the-radar signing the Eagles made this week.
Yep.
They inked up Barrett Jones, and I like this.
Offensive line.
Don't be surprised if he at some point next year is starting for you.
Yeah, no, when I saw that signing, I was very happy. I mean, usually you don't get too excited with these in-season minor moves when you sign a guy off another team's practice squad or something. But this it could be a good move for the future, like you said, possibly next year, especially because we have the former offensive line coach at Alabama in Jeff Stoutland. So, and
True.
Obviously Barrett Jones played at Alabama on that offensive line. So, could be a good signing going into next year.
And Alabama's had good running games in recent years, so the kid's got some talent. And who did we cut for I believe it's like 9 or 10 times now.
Time Julian Vandervelde has been sent away.
That's right.
I literally think it's like high.
It's 9. I think it was 8. Like when I brought it up to you guys before, we brought him back. I think it's 9, and I think it's the 4th or 5th time this year alone.
I'm surprised he hasn't burned down the Novacare complex yet.
How's that work with getting paid? Does he like?
Like he doesn't do anything, so he's just getting some money on the side. I guess it's great. But now that Barrett Jones is in here, I think he's fucked. I don't think he's coming back.
Nah.
Yeah, well, if Chip Kelly is murdered, I think we know who the suspect is.
Oh man, getting on his Batmobile.
Man.
Yeah. So there we go. Long show today. Next time, because I wanted to do, we didn't get to this, but I wanted to do like a plus-minus thing for all the GM moves that Chip made, and we didn't get to that. So maybe for our next show we could get into that, because, there's been a bunch of moves he made, and, just not enough time to get into it here. So with that being said, let's hope for a Christmas miracle. I'm going to try to hit up the Pope, but I don't think he's going to pick up his phone. So I think we're stuck with a big L in Foxborough this weekend. Later, guys. Go Birds.
Go Owls.
Go Owls! Go Owls! Respect the
other bird.
Respect it.
Here, baby.
Yeah, those other birds. Later.
All right, fellas.
Later.